Choice for joining me again for another session of Choice Spirit. I wanted to talk about thoughts. And the reason I wanted to go further into thoughts is because I realize I know already if I watch something on social media, if I'm observing something, or if I go and someone begins to talk about something, for some reason my mind keeps going back to that thing and it keeps replaying it. Or if I do something and I feel that maybe I should have handled it a different way, my mind keeps going back. And so it's important that if we're going to make some changes, that we get control over our thoughts, that we get our thoughts in order and begin to willfully, intentionally direct them towards the things that we desire, the narrative that we choose to write for ourselves. And the only way that's going to happen is by getting hold and directing intentionally your thoughts toward the things that you desire to have in your life and the way that you prefer to have your life lived. So with that said, let me say this. Like 60,000 to 85,000 thoughts go through your mind every day. And you're only aware of maybe 10%, if that much. And most of the thoughts that go through your mind every day are negative because it's based on a lot of the information that your senses take in throughout the day or throughout your lifetime. So your senses, or your 5 senses, your 6 senses, your 7 senses, and the reason I say that, you also have your intuitive sense, your emotional feeling sense, and so many other senses that are within the body that you are unaware of as well. These senses take in information. Your brain makes connections with that information, and then it draws conclusions, thought, and based on what your brain does with it, form a belief. It becomes more solid. You solidify a belief based on a thought that came in. And you do this when you label it. In other words, when you have a thought come in and you name that thought a certain thing, as it's painful, it's this, it's happy times, it's that. You label it, you name it, you claim it. It becomes a part of your world. It becomes a part of your belief system. It becomes a part of your operating system. And it becomes a part of the narrative, the narrative you choose to have for your life. So thoughts can become beliefs. And thoughts are necessary for living. Because we live through a series of thoughts. That's how we are conscious. We have thoughts that are running through us. And so when we hop on those thoughts, we then begin to create a story for our lives. Because then we create belief systems with these thoughts. So how does a thought become solid? Or the thoughts that come by way of our senses become solid, and our experiences become solid, or anything that we witness becomes solid. Well, let me give you a quick example. A child has an ice cream cone, and they been licking ice cream cones for a long time. But this day, they take a large mouthful, and it causes a brain freeze. And then After the brain freeze, the child makes the connection. Ice cream causes this pain. And the brain makes the connections with everything that is going on within that time, within that point. It makes connections. And those connections can override the previous connection of the ice cream is fun, I like it, I enjoy it, I love it. And the child can actually say, oh no, I don't like ice cream anymore because it hurts. So they no longer want, or they're doubtful, or now aware that this ice cream can cause pain. So depending on how they reference all of that, how they pull all of that information together, if they're able to rationalize or bring some logic into this. But at a very young age, children are unable, they don't have that ability. It's either black or white. It's one way or the other. And so, but if they have assistance, someone can assist them and teach them and let them know, this is good, it's okay, you must learn how to do it this way, so that it doesn't form a negative thought about that particular thing in their minds, therefore dictating the way that they respond and deal with ice cream in the future. So anyway, I went through that to say that this. When we can stop and take note of what we're thinking, what triggers what, which thoughts are negative, which thoughts are positive, the nature of the predominant, the thoughts that you think most often. Because remember, these are the thoughts that are beginning to shape your life. Okay? So you need to know what you are thinking. And when you know what you are thinking, you can now deliberately choose to think something else. Every time a certain thought that you become aware of, you can check it and choose whether or not you're going to let it become a part of your narrative or not. So every time you go on any kind of social platform, or anytime you're reading anything, or you're listening to someone talking, or you're reading text messages, think about what are you looking at, and what are you forming an opinion about it? Are you labeling it? Are you judging it? Are you giving it a name and feeling a certain way about it? Because that's when that thought becomes anchored in your belief system.